Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Metaphysics by Borden Parker Bowne, published in 1882. We're going to take a look at pages 177 to 217, and it will examine the concept of space. But if you refer back to our composite phenomenology, we're going to be looking at the detail for block 6. That realm of positing where we posit the system of causal units that we have constructed, where we posit that system as a practical positing. And obviously, to construct system, you have to address the concept of space. So we'll take a look at this first lesson in cosmology. We're into the cosmology section of the book now, and he wants to address the concept of space in the first part of his cosmology. Let's begin by taking a look at block 1. Bowne says that the concepts of space and time are the preconditions of our understanding of the world. They're both determining principles of the cosmos. Now, the nature of space is subjective. It is a principle of intuition, and it is subjective. It's arrived at through the impression of the external action upon the self. And objective space is given to the mind as a subjective principle. Now, note 2, under block 1, we'll take a look at the manifestation of space as objective. And it is the place of things, space conditions being. It's the background of all forms and all relations. It falls under the law of reality. It must be abbreviated under that law of reality. And it has to be endowed with some form of activity, says Bowne. Some form of activity, some form of understanding how it is real. As a thought movement, it has a corresponding objective dynamic determinism. So there is a correlation between the objective dynamic determinism and then that subjective interpretation as a thought movement where we grasp the principle of space. It is an intuited principle. And as a principle, it flows out from the infinite. It is enclosed within the infinite. Space is a principle within being. It determines spatial manifestation. God, as omnipresent, cannot be extended in space, because space is enclosed within the infinite. Things exist in space relations. They do change in their space relations. So in this first block, we want to understand that Bowne is telling us that the notion of space is a subjective thought movement, a principle of thought that has a corresponding objective dynamic determination in reality. We grasp it as a subjective thought movement, as the subjective principle. It's a subjective principle which determines our apprehension of objective reality. Now, block 2, we want to take a look at spatial phenomena as flowing out from the infinite. We begin with the activity of the infinite. The activity of the infinite strikes itself upon our soul to appear as things in space relations. So the infinite is mediated through things in space relation. There's a fixed connection between reality and spatial phenomena as we perceive it. So that is the mediation of the infinite. It is things in space relation. And for Bowne, spatial phenomena are real objects. They are objects of the real. We can predict their course according to the law of reality. Reality has many meanings. The universe as a system of relations cannot have an existence apart from mind. So space is a mode of appearance, or a form of appearance, within which being appears to us. The infinity of being appears to us through this modality of spatial relation. So if we take a look at Note 3, spatial phenomena as determinate principle, it is a determinate principle. Reality must be grasped as concepts. Conceptual grasping is a three-tier progression concerning space. And this is the key point in this section. It is a three-tier progression. We begin with sensibility. We grasp the content of sensible qualities of things. Then we have this step of intuitive perception. We grasp the form of space for things. That spatial relation is grasped as that intuitive subjective principle. And then we move on to relational reasoning. We grasp things as they are real and in relation to each other. So we move from sensibility to perceiving spatial relation to reasoning things as real in that movement, in that corresponding movement, that objective dynamic determinism that we interpret through thought movement. But it is a three-tier progression. Now, in appearance, we are persuaded to go behind appearance to grasp the grounding form and relation of a thing. Thought always transcends appearance. We picture the infinite in concepts that reflect spatial relation. If we are going to systematize our notions of the true, we systematize our notions of the true, remember, as causal units, and they are going to be concepts that reflect spatial relation. We're going to form a system of signs as a composite in spatial relation. The infinite appears in the form of space. We posit the universality of space intuition. Because, for Bowne, space has its essential source in the mind of the infinite. It is enclosed within the infinite. Space does not exist outside the infinite. Space is enclosed within the infinite, and the infinite mediates itself, and we grasp the infinite through the mediation of spatial relation. That is how we form our system of signs, our system of causal units that are based on our notions of the true. Remember, we had in that composite phenomenology, we grasp our content of our notions of the true. They became systematized as causal units, and then we move into that block 6 that is addressed in this lesson, where we understand that the infinite is mediated to us through spatial relations. So we form a practical, spatially related model of these causal units or signs that's going to become our practical positing and the basis of our outgoing desire to attain verification. So a very critical detail here. So we can move on to block 3 now. We can take a look at spatial relation as foundation and mediation of all creative action. Space is the foundation and the crown of the universe, of all creation. Space is a principle of intuition and a mode of appearance. It mediates the infinite as a mode of appearance. We grasp it as a principle of intuition. Space is both crown and foundation of the created universe. It exists within the one infinite base reality of the infinite. It exists for the infinite as well as for finitude. In order to act upon things in outgoing desire, we must employ the mediation of spatial relation. That is how we grasp the infinite. That is how we are going to posit outgoing desire in reality to actualize and imprint the finite with the infinite. We must employ the mediation of spatial relation. So mediation of space and praxis action. The principle of space conditions only our intuition of objects. Then we get the important axiom as the conclusion to this lesson. A given phase of reality admits only one given representation of thought. Imagination is restrained by reason. Remember, imagination is restrained by reason, by the law of reason. And for Bowne, that means that you can't just arbitrarily just give imagination free rein and come up with all kinds of nonsensical systems of causal units, because the infinite is mediated through spatial relation, but it is a determinate mediation, and there is an authentic way to grasp and define that mediation as a given representation of thought. We compile our sign model. We seek to verify it. We don't grasp it in one single positing. It's an ongoing dialectic where we always refine our sign model. We're going to refine it again, and again as we gain additional notions of the true through the moment of the return moment, remember, of a construction, of reflective construction and revision of our state of mind. It's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. We do know that we have that axiom that a given phase of reality admits only one given representation of thought. Imagination is restrained by reason. We grasp the infinite in spatial relation as a holistic and unitary causal unit. Remember? It's always considered causal unit. It is going to be considered an agency. Remember, this takes on the notion of agency for Bowne. Our posited holistic and unitary model of spatial relation becomes a unitary causal unit. It becomes the agency of our outgoing desire. We are agents, and our positing has the nature of agency to it. That was the big qualification of Hegel that Bowne took up. So this lesson really does refine that block 6. If you go back to the composite phenomenology, block 6 was that positing of the practical, positing of a concrete positing that seeks the verification of our notions of the true, that seeks verification of our causal unitary positing. It's a holistic and unitary model. And then through outgoing desire, which is praxis, we have the return moment where we return back into the self and revise the state of mind, which informs, again, that dialogue at the Dekunta threshold which will revise our system of causal units. So it's an ongoing dialectic, it's an ongoing learning, and an ongoing kind of like a refiner. It's a refinery within which we participate to refine the nature of space, to refine our grasping of the infinite through the mediation of spatial relation. That'll wrap up this lesson from pages 177 to 217. Our next lesson will take up the nature of time as we continue in cosmology.